Hello everyone and welcome to what is kind of starting to become a yearly tradition is we are here for the Prentice1215 YouTube Rewind 2020 edition. So this is just the video where I take a look back at my entire year here on YouTube and it's finally over. It's finally almost over. We've still got 24 hours. I'm recording and uploading this on the same day, so it's December the 30th, 2020. So we still have 24 hours. Something else could go wrong. But, it's almost over, finally. Man, what a crazy year. I mean, let's remember all the way back to January, folks. Remember when COPPA was going to be the worst thing to happen this year? No one remembers COPPA. That's the least of our worries. So, yeah, it has been absolutely crazy. It hasn't really been that crazy for me, honestly. I've actually really enjoyed this year. I know that's very weird to say, but I have not really been personally impacted that much by the virus and all of that, so I've just kind of been able to bunker down and work on my stuff, and that's something I've really been wanting to do. And it's also, I wanted to take some time off after I graduated to work on some of my stuff. Because I graduated from college this year. That's a big thing that happened for me this year. And part of my plan was that I wanted to take a little bit of time for myself to work on some of my YouTube stuff, get some stuff made for you guys. And I was really worried before that, my family would be going, okay, and you graduated from college, now you immediately need to find a job. But then all of this has happened, so it's like, oh, no, you've got time. You don't need to find a job yet. You can wait a little while. It's like, oh, well, how convenient. I've got a built-in excuse. That's kind of nice. But yeah, I know that this year has been absolutely awful for a lot of people. So I've been incredibly lucky and fortunate, or that it hasn't been that bad for me. But I cannot deny that it has been an absolutely bonkers year, and I don't think anyone is really wanting to relive another one. So here's hoping that 2021 is better. So yeah, let's just start by talking about my kind of my channel in general, and then I'll get into some specifics, because as I kind of teased a second ago, I was like, remember when COPPA was going to be a thing, and everyone was freaking out about COPPA, blah blah, oh, COPPA this, COPPA that, it's going to be the death of kids content on YouTube, all that stuff. I don't know about anyone else, but COPPA has actually been really good to me. Yes, it's hard to comment on a lot of my videos, but I didn't really get that many comments anyway, so it's kind of fine. And my views have kind of skyrocketed through the roof thanks to the new COPPA algorithm. That's all I can assume it is. So a lot of you that are here watching are probably here for my Ninjago content. I'll be talking in depth about that later, so stick around, please. But the Ninjago stuff on my channel has now kind of become the highest. I want to say highest grossing because I'm used to talking movie stuff. That's not correct. Is now the highest viewed stuff on my channel. All that stuff. I look at my analytics for a month, and 9 out of the 10 videos are easily all of the Ninjago stuff that I do. And occasionally there will be like one video thrown in there that's non-Ninjago related. That's an older video that continues to get views, but most of my views at this point are coming from the Ninjago stuff, and part of that I feel is because of the COPPA algorithm. I mean, last year I was kind of starting to get a following. I'm sure there are some of you guys that have been following me for maybe about a year, close to maybe a little over now, that are following me for my Ninjago stuff, and you found me last year because the first Ninjago video I really did on my channel was the top 10 seasons right after March of the Oni came out. And so a lot of you are here from that video from back when I uploaded that in April of 2019. And so I got a lot of views on that video throughout 2019, because that's the whole reason I started doing more Ninjago videos, is that I uploaded it in April, then I went back a couple months later, I'm like, ooh, this has like 3,000 views, holy cow, I need to do more Ninjago content, because obviously and I guess that the algorithm was, I got lucky with the algorithm on that video. It liked me for whatever reason that week, or maybe it's just because it's a top 10 video, a lot of, that's kind of clickbaity. So, a lot of people like to click on those top 10 videos and, kind of scrub through. They don't necessarily always, because that's a long top 10 video. That's like a 20-minute top 10 video, but because I had a lot to say. But you can kind of see how that one may have blown up a little bit, but yeah, so it did well in 2019. But holy cow, this new COPPA algorithm comes in and is just, I mean, I got more views in a month on that video this year than I did for the entirety of 2019 on that top 10 seasons video. That is ridiculous. That video is well on its way to 150,000 views at this point. I think at its height, it's honestly been a while since I've checked the day-to-day statistics on it. I need to do that. But I mean, that video is getting something like 1,000 views a day or something like that, which is just mind-boggling to me. So a lot of my traffic does come from that video and the other Ninjago stuff, and I kind of have to thank COPPA for that, because because it's weird that, 2019, yeah, those videos do well, but then 2020 rolls around when these new quote-unquote restrictions are put in place, and now all of a sudden this stuff blows up. I mean, maybe I'm drawing the wrong connections here, people, but it kind of seems to me that COPPA really helped my channel this year when we were all going out, and when this time last year we were all going, oh no, this is going to be the death of kid stuff on YouTube. I think part of that maybe is that YouTube being owned by the slimy corporation Google, they're not, they say that they're going to go through with some of the stuff, but then they don't actually go through with some of the stuff that because one of the things about kids content on YouTube that they were talking about this time last year that was getting everyone all worried was that kids content videos would not show up in the recommended sections, and that's why everyone was really worried. So one of two things happened through that. Either that has just not happened, that restriction has just never actually went into place. YouTube said that was going to be a thing that would happen, and then it just never did. And the FCC, I think it's the FCC. Yeah, whoever are the copy people, they never actually just looked into it. They just trusted YouTube at their word, which is probably dumb, and they never looked into it. And so that's not actually something that took effect. They just said it would, and it never actually took effect, or it took effect to a slight degree, but not to the degree everyone thought it would. So that's one of the things that could have happened, or that did take effect, but then something that was not detailed is that, that kids content would not be in the recommended section for the main page, but now it's all going to be filtered through YouTube Kids, or now there's going to be, a second version of the recommended section that is on just for kids content. So where if you click on a 4Kids video, then you're going to be recommended other 4Kids content, and so that was something that wasn't necessarily made clear, and then that's what's going on or something. So it's one or the other. So whichever one it is, that has really helped my channel this year. So if you found my channel this year and are watching me for my Ninjago stuff, hey, welcome. I'm going to talk about some of the other stuff I do, and then I'm going to work my way back to Ninjago later, because that's going to be a big thing in my preview for 2021 stuff that I'm going to talk about later on. So yeah, overall, this was an outstanding year for my channel growth-wise. I gained a lot of subscribers. I gained a lot of views. This time last year, this time 2 years ago, I was saying stuff like, yeah, I have a lot of subscribers, but most of them are lapsed. It's people that subscribed in like 2009, 2010, 2012 that were, that were subscribing when I had like double digits in terms of subscribers. And so, they're not really actually active subscribers. They're basically just a number. They aren't actually active subscribers, but now I actually have an active viewer base, and that's really cool. Yeah, most of the active viewer base is here just for my Ninjago stuff, so they don't turn out for every video, which sort of hurts. I mean, it's like, hey, I do other cool stuff too. You can pop over and watch the toy reviews and the stop motions and stuff as well, please. Thank you. That'd be really nice. But But yeah, I do have so while not all of them, so while not all of you Ninjago people do watch my other stuff, I do have, there are some of you out there that have probably joined for the Ninjago stuff, and then you've seen it like, oh, he does toy reviews, oh, he does the occasional video game thing, oh, he also does stop motions, and then you have started to tune in for that stuff as well. So I really appreciate that for that the algorithm has been able to kind of give that to me. It's like, hey, I actually kind of have a viewer base now. It's not large. I kind of have different demographics of viewers. It's like, yeah, there's the large group that is here just for Ninjago. There's a group that is here just for stop motion. There's a group that's a very small group that's here just for the toy reviews. Probably then there's a group that's here just for anything Transformers I do. There's a group of people that are probably here for the video game stuff I do, and then somewhere in this Venn diagram there's a very small portion of you that are here for all of it. And so no matter what you watch on my channel, thank you for watching. I'm so very happy to have you here, and I hope that you will continue to watch into the new year. So now I'm going to kind of go over some of the stuff that I did this year, starting with my stop motion work. I've kind of made a separate video on this, so I'm going to kind of gloss over some things because I've kind of talked about some of the stuff in depth. But this was probably arguably my biggest year in terms of stop motion turnout, because I think just based on the runtime, I think this was the most stuff I've put out in a year. Not in terms of actual videos, because it was actually fewer videos, but in terms of runtime, it was more, because we saw the series finale of Bionicle Reiterated in the form of Bionicle Reiterated Dark Destiny, the finale movie. And I've talked about that a lot now, so I'm not really going to talk about it in depth here, because I made I did a making of video that ran for about 20-30 minutes that talked about a lot of the behind the scenes on that. I've talked about it in my stop motion overview video that I did back on Monday. So I really don't have much to. I don't really have anything else to say on that, except, man, that was such a journey. I really enjoyed taking that journey. If you watched that show, thank you for watching. I really enjoyed making that. So that's going to be something I look back and I really cherish, because it kind of allowed Bionicle to live on a little longer. For me and a couple others than it really had any right to, because G2 got canceled in 2016, and then here we are in 2020, and so it kind of, for me and some other people that are working on the project, Bionicle kind of got to live on an extra 4 years longer than it would have originally. So that was nice. So I'm always going to look fondly back on Reiterated, and that's really all I have to say about it, because I've talked about it so much on the channel this year and in previous years. So yeah, that was fun. So moving on, another thing I did this year was LEGO Star Wars Troopers episode 19. Gosh, it was good. It was really good to get back to that. It didn't turn out exactly like I liked. There were some shots that I wasn't necessarily happy with, but that project kind of had a very tumultuous production cycle, because it originally started out as 2 separate episodes. It was going to be episodes 19 and 20, The Adventures of Jack Simon Part 1 and 2, but then I ended up deciding to smush it into 1 script instead of 2. And I started on it in March of 2019, and then I didn't get to, and I worked on it a little bit in April of 2019, but then I put it down. I didn't pick it up again until March of this year, and then when I did, I was kind of forcing myself to do it. I wasn't really enthused with getting back to it. I just like, it's been too long. I need to get back and finish this thing, because I've started on it and I need to finish it. And then I got the filming done, and then I took a little break to work on some special effects stuff for Transformers. And then Bionicle had come out by that point, and then I announced Transformers. And so I was kind of like, I just need to get this done. And then I finally got to working on some of the special effects, and then I finally got to voice acting on it, and then I finally started putting it together, and I was kind of going, this is actually turning out really well, but in terms of the way the story flows and some of the special effects, but then you do have some of these shots that just aren't great, because it's like, maybe I should go back and refilm this, but it's like, but I would have to rebuild the set, and so there's a lot of stuff that I'm not necessarily happy with, for episode 19 of Troopers because it was a little bit of a rush job. I wasn't very motivated to work on it until I got in the editing bay. And I'm like, this is actually kind of turning out way better than I thought. And it's kind of fun how that turned out to actually be pretty good. Again, I have my problems with it, but maybe I can improve on that in the future. So that was a big project, and then of course kind of the bigger of the projects that, again, I kind of talked in depth about this stuff Monday, but I'll just kind of gloss over some of the stuff here. But hey, Knights of Cybertron finally came out. Yay! I'm actually kind of surprised that I got it out this year. I was kind of starting to wonder if it was going to have to be next year, but I said that it was coming this year, so gosh darn it, I was going to put it out this year, even if it was just going to be like the first episode. But thankfully, I managed to get the second episode done too, and I actually managed to get the premiere out. So I've talked about it briefly, but I like in the premiere, and then I also talked about it a little bit in the stop motion overview video that I did on Monday. But I've been working on this show for a long time. It's probably the longest lead up to a show that it's been the longest in production state that a show of mine has been in before the actual premiere, because I really kind of got because I actually began active production on it in 2018, but the original inklings, the original ideas that I started to have for this show, I got back in 2017 around the time that Transformers: The Last Knight was out. So I've really been actively working on the show for about 2 years, but the very origins of the show started back in 2017, so 3 years ago. So I've really been working on the show for 3 years, and for it to finally be out, finally it's starting to come together. It's like, whew, man, about time. So there was a comment on the premiere of someone that's been around on my channel for a long time. So if you're watching this, hey, thanks for being around for a long time. I really appreciate you sticking around. And I don't know if you've been active, for all that time. Maybe you kind of left for a while and you came back when you saw I was doing more Transformers stuff. But hey, so if that's the case, then hey, thanks for coming back. But I saw that I got this comment on the premiere of Knights of Cybertron, and it said that, I was a fan of your old Transformers versus Lego Star Wars stuff, but man, this is such an improvement over that. And I commented, it's like, yeah, that's exactly why I felt it was time to come back to Transformers. Because working on Bionicle, I really did learn a lot of new techniques, mainly the green screen / blue screen integration, because all of Bionicle had to be done on that. There was only there's only one scene in the entirety of the 2 seasons and a movie run of that show where the figures are actually on a physical set and there's not a green screen going on, and that was in the first season, and that was it. Everything else was all done on green and blue screen, and so then the sets and everything had to be made in the computer with art and stuff like that. So I learned a lot through some of that stuff, and then in the time that I was working on production of that, some new tools kind of became available. One of those being Studio, however you want to say that, from Bricklink, which if you're a Lego fan, you probably know what Bricklink is, but for those of you that don't know, Bricklink is an online service where you can go and you can order individual Lego pieces or minifigures or entire sets. It's basically eBay, but just for Lego, and you can buy the pieces piecemeal instead of having to get them in a big set. So for adult fans such as myself and others, and Mockus stuff, stop motion people, stuff like that, it really comes in handy because you don't necessarily have to buy an entire $90 set to get one minifigure. Now you can pay $5 for this minifigure that came in the $90 set or something like that. So that, and you can get parts because I used Bricklink to make a couple mocks for Bionicle Reiterated, and then they came out with Studio, which is kind of a update, more modern interpretation, kind of their own take on Lego Digital Designer. And the thing that really got me going about that was the fact that you could render out your finished projects. And Lego Digital Designer, I'm pretty sure that you could do that as well, but the version, and it's been a long time since I've messed with Lego Digital Designer, so maybe it's really changed since back then. But from what I could remember with Lego Digital Designer is that, you could render stuff out, I'm pretty sure, but the renders weren't necessarily the best, but that also may be because of the computing power I had at the time. So, but with Studio, you can render out these near photorealistic images of your projects. So when that came out and people started toying around with that, posting the images on Twitter and the Discord servers and stuff like that, I really kind of started scratching my chin going, that's interesting. And then I also had all these ideas swirling around for what could I do with Transformers. I'm not going to lie, my original thought when I was kind of thinking about doing more Transformers is that it would be Transformers versus Lego Star Wars 6, because that was... I had spent so much time in that world, in that universe, that maybe it was time, and I'd spent a little bit of time away from it, working on Bionicle. I'd spent like 2 years away from it by the time I was having some of these ideas. That I was kind of like, maybe a sixth movie with some of these new techniques might be called for, but I was kind of having this idea, where this was like right before The Last Night came out, and then The Last Night came out, and then I liked it initially, but then a couple days went by, and I was like going, hold on, then this doesn't make sense, that doesn't make sense, yeah, that was really bad, okay, now that was a fun moment, but it's kind of ruined by that thing that happened afterward, and it just really left, at the end of the day, it left a really sour taste in my mouth. And so I'm like, okay, well, I mean, how could we have fixed this movie? And so in my head, kind of like I did with Bionicle, is I started kind of rewriting it in my head. I'm like, okay, well, maybe a new Transformers project that I do should be, like remaking The Last Night. It could be Transformers The Last Night Reiterated or something like that. But then with all these changes I was making to the story, I was really kind of thinking, it's like, okay, in order to make this good, you basically just need to make something completely different. And so I'm like, okay, well, instead of trying to remake something, let's actually make something new. And so that's where Knights of Cybertron came from. And now that you know that, maybe you can kind of see some of the inspiration where that initial idea of maybe I rewrite The Last Night. You can see where some of that kind of started to come from, because it utilizes a lot of the toys from The Last Night. The show is called Knights of Cybertron because I did kind of take that knight concept from The Last Night and try to rework that. I was about to say something spoilery, but I'm just now remembering that only the first 2 episodes are out. I can't talk about the entire season of Knights of Cybertron because you guys haven't seen it all. I've had this stuff planned out for years, so I know all these character details. But I think as the season progresses, you'll kind of see some of the that was obviously an idea taken from The Last Night. I will say this, that the 3rd episode that I'm actually working on editing right now, the 3rd episode of Knights of Cybertron is called The Last Night. And it's an episode that so this is kind of your sneak peek at the next episode of Knights of Cybertron. And it's an episode that really delves into and kind of dives into who this version of Optimus is. And the fact that he is the Last Knight, and what does that mean for this world? So as Knights of Cybertron continues, you can kind of start to see some of the I can see where it kind of started out as a retelling of the Last Knight, but then it got to the point where I was changing too much, and it's like I might as well make something new out of this. It's like, okay, yeah, let's make something new out of this. So, which is the opposite of what Bionicle Reiterated ended up being. Is that there was so much potential with Bionicle G2 that I didn't want to throw everything out and restart. I wanted to kind of take some of those ideas that G2 presented and flesh them out more, because you look at Reiterated, I feel like Reiterated really does keep the spirit of what G2 was. It sticks pretty close to the story. Obviously it deviates in places, but the places where it deviates are logical deviations, and it's not too different from what we got, and it makes actual G2 look like, okay, this was the first draft, and then some ideas were expounded upon and expanded and kind of fleshed out a little bit more, so that way they made sense in the world. We kind of shift some things around, and as we know with Bionicle G2, is that the 2nd and 3rd year kind of got squashed into one because they knew they were canceled, and now it's really unfortunate. So so kind of unsquashing years 2 and 3. So you watch Bionicle Reiterated with knowledge of what happens in G2. You see the bones. You can say, yes, this is G2. This is a different take on G2, but this is still Bionicle G2. There are differences, but I feel like it still really retains its identity as Bionicle G2. Compare that to what Knights of Cybertron is. If I were to pass off Knights of Cybertron as this is what the last night should have been, it's just so totally different. So totally different. So that's really where Knights of Cybertron came from, and I'm really excited for you guys to see more of it. There's actually kind of some more that I want to talk about it, but again, like I said, you guys haven't seen the whole season. Or the whole series. It's like I don't even have the 3rd and 4th seasons written yet. They're planned out in my head, but I don't have them written. I've only got the first 2 seasons written down. But there's a lot of cool stuff that's going to be happening in this show. I feel like that if you're a Transformers fan, you're gonna really like. There's the occasional reference to something or other here or there, so. I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch here, but I think some of the stuff that I'm doing in Knights of Cybertron and what I'm doing with the plot and the characters and kind of the way things turn out. Some of the voice actors might be able to back me up on this here that have read all the scripts because they've been having to voice act all this. They might back me up on some of this, but compare it to official media that we've been getting from Hasbro lately for Transformers. I think that this is definitely, maybe not in terms of animation, because I am just one dude animating all of this stuff in his basement, so maybe not in terms of that, but in terms of storytelling, I think this is easily better than the stuff that's been going on in the War for Cybertron Netflix series. As I'm recording and uploading this today, Earthrise has just come out on Netflix, so I think when I get done with this, I'm going to go watch a couple episodes of that. But Siege was rough. Whew, boy, I really hope Earthrise is an improvement, because Siege was rough. There were nuggets of goodness in there, but overall, it was, why was Megatron talking so slow all the time? The art style, I liked that, but some of the animation could be a little stiff, and the voice direction wasn't great at times, and then the story overall was just really kind of meh. So it was rough. It was okay, but I've been kind of dumbfounded seeing some of the reviews for Siege, and I can't really speak to Earthrise yet because I haven't seen it myself, but some of the reviews for Siege is like, oh yeah, this is great, this is some of the best Transformers we've had ever. It's like, really? You're going to compare this to Animated in Prime and say this is better than Animated in Prime? It's like there was one reviewer where I saw this, I can't remember where I saw this conversation go down, but it happened around the time that Siege came up back in August, where someone was like, really, you think this is better than Prime and Animated? It's like, oh, I didn't like Prime and Animated, so yes, I think it's better than that. And it's like, okay, so what Transformers stuff do you like? And it's like, I basically like G1 and that's it. Everything else Transformers that has come out since 1987 I have not liked. It's like, okay, so you like Siege because because it's rose-tinted glasses for you. So yeah, your review should kind of just totally be discarded because if you're comparing this to G1 and that's the only reason you like it is because it's so much like G1, yeesh. G1 was not a great cartoon. I love it, but it was not a great cartoon. So it was I mean, gosh, the second season has some of the worst animation I've ever seen out of a cartoon ever. I mean the Charlie Brown Christmas, which is not known for its animation quality, it does better with its animation compared to some episodes of G1 of the second season. I mean, yikes. So that's kind of a little look at Transformers. I'm really glad that I managed to get it out this year. I'm so excited for you guys to see the rest of the first season as I'm continuing to work on it. Again, I don't have a date for when the rest of the episodes will start to roll out. But when I find out, then you guys will of course get a trailer that will tell you. So look for that maybe in the hopefully the first couple months of 2021. So let's see here. What else did I do this year? I also, another big project I got out was 45th Attack Battalion, The Siege of Outpost 10. That was a fun one to do. That was kind of an ode to the old... two things, really. I mean, of course, the Clone Wars as a television show, because we got the Clone Wars back this year. That's so awesome. We got a 7th season of the Clone Wars, and it was great. So it was kind of an ode to the Clone Wars, because when I originally came up with the ideas for rebooting the 45th Attack Battalion, it was like, well, we're not going to ever get more Clone Wars stuff, so I might as well do some of my own version of Clone Wars. And then it's like, we actually got the Clone Wars back. It's so awesome. I love it. So it was really a homage to the Clone Wars as the show, and then also to the stuff that really got me into brick filming in the first place, which was the old base attack stop motions. That kind of what ended up being kind of a mini genre in the brick filming community back in like 2008, 2007. Back years ago. 2007, 2008, stuff like that, back when like the original Clone and Droid battle packs were released, and so people started to army build that stuff, and so you could very easily for a somewhat cheap way kind of very quickly build up your armies of clones and droids. And of course, I'm talking about this, I can't not talk about the master of these, Pizza Movies. Pizza Movies was one of my original inspirations for getting into brick filming with his 501st series and he kind of pioneered. He started doing I have not found anyone before him that came before him, but it kind of seems like that he kind of pioneered this a little bit. I mean, there may have been a couple people that came around around the same time, were kind of doing the same thing at the same time, unbeknownst to each other, But Pizza Movies, back in 2007, he was kind of definitely the most popular figure that was doing these back in the day, which was the old base attacks, where there wasn't really much plot, there wasn't really much by way of characters, it was just stop motion for the sake of stop motion, visual effects extravaganza, everyone working with Windows Live Movie Maker and Microsoft Paint, and really rugged. I mean, to a degree, I feel like this is the kind of the brick filming equivalent of like the French New Wave or something like that, because no one really knew what they were doing. They were just doing it because they liked it. It was such a pure and simple time. This is where figures like Spuggastu and Just Super 9 came from. The Four Monkeys, all these people. Digital cameras were pretty cheap. You could get some. You could get these gigantic armies of clones and droids together and start filming, and so many people started doing this. I started doing this, but it is something where so many people started doing this, and they very quickly dropped off because they did not have the A, time, or B, patience, or C, all of the above to actually work on these things. And so there's been kind of few of us. I mean, I don't actually know how many people are still around today that were brick filming back then. I think maybe like the only ones I can really think of are myself, the Four Monkeys, Brotherhood Workshop. I think they were doing stuff way back then. Fancy Pants has kind of come in and out, where he's gone, I'm back, I'm gone again. I'm back, I'm gone again. I'm back, I'm gone again for real this time. So, because that's the funny thing about time, is that we all get older as time goes on. Pizza Movies disappeared one day. Just Super 9 disappeared one day. Spuggastu, he disappeared for a long while. Then he kind of came back, and then now I think he's just more or less kind of in the community. I don't think he actually actively makes stuff anymore, but I think he's still around. So I don't really know how many people are actually still around from way back in the 2007, 2008, 2009 era of making stop motion stuff. I mean, at this point, it's kind of scary to think about, but I feel like I'm kind of like one of the only ones left from that era. Obviously, I'm still not as big as some of these other people, but I feel like I'm one of the few with a channel that you can actually go back and find stuff from way back in the day, which is crazy to think about. Obviously, I think honestly, the biggest brick filmers right now are probably the Four Monkeys and Brotherhood Workshop. No, hold on. Who? I have forgotten their name, but they do, and they don't post often. But whenever they do, the videos are always hilarious. I'm trying to think of what their name is. But it's because there's this really funny one that they came out with years ago in 2013. Now that was Iron Man related, when Iron Man 3 was coming out, about the Mark 42 armor. I can't remember their name, but they're pretty popular, I think. But again, I haven't seen a video from them in ages, so I don't know if they're active anymore or not. So yeah, that era of brick filming is really what inspired me to get into brick filming in the first place. And here I am 12 years later. And so the 45th Attack Battalion and the Siege of Outpost 10 is kind of a love letter back to that era of stop motion, because it is a 44-minute base attack stop motion, essentially. I just put a little bit more plot in there, and character stuff, and I really like the way it turned out. I think it turned out really well. And another thing that I tried to do, as well as, be this big love letter to that era of brick filming, is also try to answer a question that was never really answered in the Clone Wars, which was what happened between Dooku and the Death Watch, where in Season 2 of Clone Wars, the Death Watch are pretty much all buddy-buddy with the Separatists. Season 3, they get mentioned, but they don't appear. Then they show back up in Season 4, and Previs is all like, yeah, Dooku betrayed us, and I got this scar from him because apparently we fought, but you're not going to get to see that, and now we don't like the Separatists anymore. Okay, thanks for just telling us that. Why didn't we get to see that play out? Hello, what happened? I would like some answers on this, please. Specifics, maybe? I don't think that was in a comic, So that was kind of a I really wish we got an answer for that. So Siege of Outpost 10 was also kind of me trying to answer one of those questions, like how did Death Watch and the Separatists have that falling out that caused their alliance to shatter? And so I've tried to answer that a little bit by introducing a Death Watch tactician and him being the one leading the battle. But of course, he needed someone to be watching over him, to where they would report back to one of the Separatist leaders and say, okay, the Death Watch is not going to work out. We need to get rid of them. And who better to do that than General Grievous? Because Grievous is just a fun villain. He's a cyborg, but I almost feel like that Grievous is sort of kind of the closest thing we have to a mustache twirling villain in Star Wars. Because Palpatine is deliciously evil. He knows he's evil. He loves being evil, but he has the occasional evil laugh and stuff. But Grievous is, he checks all the boxes. He kind of hams it up at times. He's got a really cool design. He is fearsome. He is scary. But then he also, does not suffer fools. So if a battle droid is the Malevolence episodes, it's like, it's so much more fun when they're not shooting back. I still can't seem to hit anything. Smack, that droid's head gets disintegrated by Grievous's hand. So Grievous is just a really, really fun villain. So of course I wanted to bring him in and have him, and also just the idea of General Grievous fighting a Mandalorian. That's a cool idea. We sort of kind of got that in the Son of Dathomir comic, which I guess we would have seen actually on screen had Clone Wars not been canceled. But that's really just kind of a taste. What would a fight between them look like? I don't think it would be a long fight. I think Grievous's cyborg upgrades would give him a little bit of an edge, especially considering the arena they were in, which is basically just a big glass box. So there wasn't much that Commander Orc could do there against Grievous. He was kind of screwed. But so you put them on a planet on more even ground. I don't know how that fight might turn out, but the fight, that arena was definitely skewed against Orc in that situation, which was kind of the point, because I need to. The damage had been done. There's your explanation for why Death Watch is no longer affiliated with the Separatists. And of course I needed to kill off the big bad of this chapter. So yeah, Siege of Outpost 10, that was fun. That was fun to work on. It was also sort of kind of another one of those where I sort of kind of was forcing myself to do it, but I sort of kind of wasn't forcing because I really wanted to do it. But at the same time, it's like, but I have to put an effort into this. I'm kind of lazy. I want to do that today. I'll work on churning out some backgrounds instead in Studio, because I have to sit here instead of getting up to grab something, and because because for those of you that don't actually do stop motion is a lot harder than just like, yes, it's tedious, it's all that stuff you think it is, but it's not just sitting in a chair for hours on end. There is actually, at least the way my setup works, there is a lot of movement, there is a lot of back and forth. You have to grab this thing off the shelf and bring it over. And it's like I actually don't do a lot of sitting. I actually do a lot of either kneeling or hunched over the table. Occasionally some sitting, but a lot of the stuff, a lot of my stop motion takes place on my feet. So it's actually a little more physically taxing than you would maybe expect. Now, there's probably better ways to do that, but maybe more efficient ways, but that's the way I do it. I know that people like Leica or Aardman, the big boys and that are doing quote unquote real stop motion, that make the feature films that actually come out in theaters, which is awesome. Like they have their big sets, and then they have the little holes that they pop up through to then move to move the characters around, and then they'll go back down through the hole, and then a picture will be taken, and they'll pop up through the hole again. So that tells you what kind of, that's doing that for hours on end. It's like, all right, pop up, move the figure, duck down out of the shot, someone takes the picture, pop back up, move the figure a little bit, pop back down. Come on, that's got to be tough. So yeah, that's really all the stop motion stuff I did this year. I didn't talk about this in the other video because it wasn't a major project, but I did also do a parody trailer for season 12 of Ninjago, which was based off of the Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle trailer. That one didn't really turn out the way I thought. It kind of ended up being more of a test for some special effects stuff, but it was kind of like, okay, haha, I get it. It was a fun, like, it only took me like 48 hours, something like that, to work on it. I didn't put that much effort into it. It was just kind of a fun haha joke. But there's a couple effects in there that I like that I'm going to be able to use and replicate because now I know how to do them. Because season 12 of Ninjago was, hey, let's go and do a video game. It's like, where have we seen this recently? It's like, yeah, you can point to Tron, you can point to Jumanji. It's that's it's not that was not a new concept, but Jumanji was the latest thing that had kind of done that. So that's why I went the Jumanji route instead of the Tron route in terms of drawing direct comparisons. So I also did that this year, but that's more like a footnote. So yeah, that's really all the stop motion stuff I did this year. I'll talk more about some of the stuff that I have coming up later. But boy, did I do a lot of reviews this year, and they're different reviews than usual. Most of the reviews that I have done on my channel in the past have been all toy reviews. I've been doing toy reviews for years now. I don't typically like get an entire line of something. It's like if I get a toy, then I'll typically review it unless said toy is maybe going to be a spoiler for something, or it's old. There's been a couple exceptions, but most of the time it's like if I find a toy secondhand or something, and then I won't review it because I was like, well, this thing came out 4 years ago. Why bother reviewing it now? There's been one or two exceptions to that rule, but most of the stuff I review is going to be somewhat newish. But this year I did a lot of reviews over TV shows, and I started out the year with the Clone Wars, which was so fun to do. I loved just sitting down for 15 minutes to a half hour every week, every other week, because I doubled up on some episodes for a couple various reasons, and it was fun to talk about Clone Wars because the Clone Wars was actually back. That was so cool. And then, trying not to cry as I talked about the ending and all that stuff. So that was fun. Then moving on from Clone Wars, I talked about the final season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was also fun to do because, man, S.H.I.E.L.D. was such a fun show. I loved watching S.H.I.E.L.D. from the moment it started back in 2013 to when it finally wrapped up this year. S.H.I.E.L.D. was such a fun show. S.H.I.E.L.D. was honestly sort of kind of the thing that was keeping my love for Marvel alive in the post-Endgame era, with that and Spider-Man PS4, because now the Endgame has come out, and I'm ready for the new Spider-Man movie, although I'm kind of dubious on it's like I'm not sure about doing a Spider-Verse yet, a live-action Spider-Verse yet. Oh, Into the Spider-Verse was also awesome, but it's kind of been like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Spider-Man stuff that's kept my love for Marvel stuff alive, because it's like I don't know, I wouldn't say I'm tired of it, but I find myself thinking about Marvel stuff less and less. Compared to 2-3 years ago, where I was thinking about it all the time. But also we also started kind of getting less content from Marvel, so maybe that also has something to do with it. So I don't know, but Shield was fun. It was fun to talk about that and do those reviews. And then to wrap up, all of my reviews for the year, I also talked about season 2 of The Mandalorian, which was what a roller coaster that season was. I really got into some nerdy stuff with The Mandalorian because the show got into some nerdy stuff. And I don't know, I maybe had some controversial opinions on some stuff, but I didn't really. There wasn't like a massive amount of downvotes not downvotes, but thumbs down on those videos. So I guess they weren't too controversial of opinions. And so I talked like I've done this. This year I really started to talk to you guys a lot more in kind of a fireside chat format. And it's been nice that I've been able to review those shows and kind of do these talky videos because to a degree, it's really helped provide content for my channel because there was actually sort of kind of a drought of content for a little while on my channel because I was busy working on stuff for next year, and so there was a time in like late summer and then up to the early winter where I was busy. I was really hard at it, working on a lot of stuff, stop motion wise. That's for stuff that'll be coming out next year. Actually, one of those things I was working on was the Siege of Outpost 10. So that's something I'm like, oh yeah, I got all that filmed and edited and wrapped up in like 3 months. So that was kind of a fun. And I wrote most of it early in the year, and then so it's kind of nice to have almost a really fast turnaround on that, where it's like a 4-month turnaround as opposed to Bionicle Reiterated, where I write an entire season over the course of maybe a week, and then 5 months go by before I can actually film it, and then I film it, and then it takes another 3 months for my voice actors to get their lines in, and then I finally get to start editing. Because that's kind of how season 1 and 2 and the movie went, is where so I wrote it, and then there's this big gap of time where I can't film it because I'm at school. Then I finally get home for the holidays or for summer vacation or something like that. And then I finally get to film it, and then I get my voice actors and go, okay, send me your stuff. And then it takes a little while for all their stuff to trickle in. And then I finally get to edit it, and then it all comes out. And then in the time that it's taken for all their stuff to come in, I've written another season, and then but I still can't film it. And then I finally get to put out the episodes from the first season, and then I'm filming the second season, but I have to take a break on filming the second season and come back and finish it later. And then so the schedule so because of the way that schedule was working on Bionicle, it's like it took me 9 months to get a season out, so or a year, if not maybe a little longer than that. Same with the movie. So that was because production wasn't really any different. It just came out as a movie instead of a season. So it was kind of nice working on 45th Attack Battalion to go, oh wow, I got that wrapped up in like 4 months. That's great. So having all these, since I was so busy there for a while and that I was uploading nothing to my channel, it was kind of nice that, oh, okay, yeah, here's some reviews of the Mando or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something, because to kind of placate some of you guys, because I am working so much on all this other stuff. So that was kind of a nice, I didn't necessarily plan that out when the year started, but it kind of ended up being a nice, that happened. So let's see here. I also did a lot of video game stuff this year. I like video games. I like talking about video games. I like playing video games with my friends. So of course you had your typical funtages and stuff from me, where it's funny moments in Modern Warfare or stuff like that. I also did a lot of streaming with the TTV PSN fan community this year. We streamed the most out of any year we've streamed. We streamed like 15 times or something this year when all was said and done. So that was fun. But I also did a lot of video game reviews this year. Another different type of review from me, where I've been reviewing games for years now, on and off. It started back when I was in high school in like 2014, 2015, something like that. It was originally a school project, which is why you guys will unfortunately never see that first one, because there were actual people from my high school that I interviewed for that game review, because that was part of the parameters. The assignment is that you had to actually interview some people in person. So yeah, you guys will never see that because I didn't get their permission to re-upload the video. But from there, I've kind of been reviewing games on and off for years, and I do like 2 or 3 a year. I did a lot this year, because let me think. What games did I review this year? Starting, because this year started off with, I think it was Twin Breaker, Modern Warfare 2 Remastered campaign, Lego City Undercover, Star Wars Squadrons, and then Drawn to Life 2 Realms. So that's like 6 game reviews this year, which is like double of what I was usually doing. If I usually did 2 or 3 a year, I did double. I also wanted to do Spider-Man Miles Morales as a review, but I was kind of waiting to see if I could pick up a PS5 and then also talk about the PS5 version, but then that didn't happen because the PS5 is impossible to find. So at this point, I'm just going to review the PS4 version and say, yeah, I couldn't play it on PS5 because I couldn't find one. Oops. And so then that'll be like an early video for 2021. And I don't know, maybe it's because I was just hitting it at the right time, because it was around the time that the games were out, or if there's just more of you now that watch all of my content, or there are people here that are here for game stuff. But the video game reviews this year did pretty well. I was really surprised by some of the views on some of these, especially Lego City Undercover. The review for that, I'm gonna be a little more in the okay. That's kind of a bit of a fluke because it's Lego related. So, and I know a lot of people on my channel are here for the Lego stuff. Maybe specifically Ninja. I feel well. I don't know. I don't want to make assumptions, but I feel like maybe if you're here for the Ninjago content, but if you see something else Lego related on the channel, then you're more likely to click on that than say like a Modern Warfare video or Rainbow Six video or something like that. So that may have something to do with it, but yeah. So yeah, I feel like that did give the Lego City Undercover video a boost there. But even on the Star Wars Squadrons review, the Drawn to Life review, those hit 40 views easy in the first week, and then they dropped off. It's dropped off since then, but that's honestly more than I was expecting. So that's I think that is just another. The COPPA YouTube algorithm it was very nice to me this year, and it gave me a lot of new viewers that are gonna watch more of my stuff. So hey, I am not complaining about that. So yeah, I really enjoyed doing those video game reviews. It's always fun to take a look at the games, and what ups and downs that they have. I have noticed though that I pretty much give at this point anyway. I've pretty much given the last several games I've reviewed. I have given essentially my version of a perfect score, where it's like, yeah, it's worth the full price. But it's so funny is that not all these games are $60 games, so they are less. And then even then, a couple of them I have said, yeah, this is worth the full price, but with a caveat of insert caveat here. So it is kind of interesting to look at my reviews compared to like other sites where it's like, oh, we're giving this an 8 out of 10, where they do the typical review scores, where my review scores are in terms of money. So I don't know. Maybe next year I'll look over a couple games where I'll be excited for them, and it'll just not pan out. It's like, nah, this is a $10. This is not worth the $60. This is a $20 game. I don't know what they were thinking here. This is really something like that. I'm sure that would have happened if I had any interest in Cyberpunk this year. Oh boy, what a trash fire that turned out to be. Those poor devs at CD Projekt Red. So yeah, that's kind of all. That's not all for gaming this year. I did also do another Let's Play this year, Spider-Man Miles Morales. That was a fun game. I really, really enjoyed that. It was a shorter Let's Play compared to some of the others I've done, especially the first game. But yeah, so that was a fun one. I hope if you guys are maybe waiting to pick it up on PS5, but you couldn't wait to watch the story or something like that, or you don't necessarily have a PlayStation to play it on, but you're a big Spider-Man fan, so if that's how you got your fix, then hey, I hope you enjoyed. That's why I do this stuff, and also it's it's like it's something I enjoy, and it's for, I mean, there's the occasional swear word I have to censor out, but for the most part, something Spider-Man related is going to be pretty family friendly, and for the most part, my channel is family friendly, of course, with the exception of something like Call of Duty or Siege. But at this point, those video games, it's like, okay, so there's a little bit of blood in them. I always censor the curse words. They're not that bad, and it's more or less the antics. It's not like a it's not like I'm going through. It's like, all right, here's all the ways you can decapitate enemies with a crossbow or stuff like that. I'm not doing stuff like that. It's like, oh look, I accidentally ran this car into a tree, and we all blew up and died. Haha, that's funny. It's stuff like that, which is a little more on. I mean, come on, it's Looney Tunes. So yeah, that's pretty much all the stuff I did this year. I don't really think I'm leaving anything out. I talked about all the different reviews I did, the stop motion projects. Yeah, that is really pretty much it. So now it's time to talk about what a lot of you are probably here for, is the Ninjago stuff, and this is also going to be I'm going to talk about Ninjago content in depth now, and I'm also going to discuss 2021. So this is because the Ninjago stuff is going to factor into this. So if you watched all the way up to here, thanks. If you skipped, well, then you're after the timestamp that you saw earlier, then yeah, this is going to be the stuff that you were waiting for, or didn't wait for. But hey, it's fine. This is what you're here for. So yeah, this time last year I did kind of promise more Ninjago stuff, but that would come out this year. But not all of that really happened. I actually made fewer Ninjago videos this year than I did last year. Of course, last year I also did Ninjago Rebooted, so that was an easy 8. That was 8 videos right there. And okay, let's face it, they were. No. I'm not going to say it was easy to make those videos, because I actually had to watch Rebooted, and I did not like having to do that again, because I've talked about Rebooted enough. Anyway. So yeah, I made fewer Ninjago videos this year, but you can say, he was lazy, or he doesn't care about us. It's like, no, that's not true. There were a couple things that kind of stopped me from doing that. And one of the things you can blame on there being fewer Ninjago videos this year, one of them was, you can blame season 13 for being good. Which I know sounds weird, so hang on with me here for a second. But so season 12 came out, and I didn't want to do a video on season 12. And I was like, oh, hey, here's my theories for where season 12 could go now that we're halfway through. I don't want to do stuff like that, because that can so easily become clickbaity and stuff like that, and I hate that. So I wanted to wait until season 12 was done, and then season 12 wrapped up, and boy, did I have some thoughts on it. But some of the thoughts I had on it, and I talked about this a little bit in the video I did end up making over season 12 and 13, which I combined into one. So, because season 12 had a big pacing problem. It was kind of the inverse of the pacing problem that, not necessarily the inverse, but it was a different type of pacing problem than the pacing problem season 11 had. So it's like, okay, they've kind of got a pacing problem on their hands. So I wonder if the format change has something to do with that. So let's wait and see what season 13 is like before I really talk about this in depth. Because honestly, knowing it was a cold season, I didn't have the highest hopes for it, especially after season 12. So I was really kind of expecting season 13 to not be great either, and boy was I wrong, because season 13 was really good. So that plan that I had to talk about, the pacing issue with season 12, and to make a video and season 13 as well, because that was my thought, is like, oh yeah, season 13 is going to have a pacing issue as well, and it didn't really. It flowed really well. So that plan to make a video about the pacing in Ninjago, and then also to make 2 separate videos on season 12 and 13 as a whole. It's like, you'll have a video for season 12, you'll have a video for season 13. That was my plan, and then season 13 turned out to be good, and it kind of ruined that plan. So blame the writers for doing their job very well on that. That's why there were fewer Ninjago videos from me this year, is because that plan to make 3 videos kind of crumbled, and it turned into 1 instead. So oops. And I do have some other ideas for other videos I could make that I kind of teased last year that I ended up not doing this year. Those will be videos that I'll probably end up making eventually. But another video. But the biggest reason that I did not do more Ninjago videos this year, because those would have been 3, and they would have been spaced up like every 2 weeks or something like that. So midway through the summer, you would have gotten Ninjago, wait a week. 2 weeks maybe, another Ninjago video, wait a week, another 2 weeks, another Ninjago video. So that was kind of the original plan, but I did do reviews of a couple of Ninjago sets, so that kind of sort of they sort of kind of took that place of what was supposed to be. So I guess they're not the typical, like scripted, I talk about a specific thing video like I typically do. They were toy reviews, but I mean, I guess that can kind of sort of count. So it's like, hey, you got some toy reviews instead. So and I've reviewed some pretty good, and the sets I reviewed I really liked. So I think I like those reviews just based on the enthusiasm I have in those videos, because I was really impressed by those sets that I built and showed off. But the biggest reason I did not do more Ninjago videos this year is because halfway through the year I had the idea to work on a stop motion adaptation of the Dark Island trilogy. And so doing that is, it's kind of it's a big project. It's going to be 3 Ninjago videos, but also it's going to be 3 stop motion videos. So the amount of work and effort being put into that is not on the same. I'm treating it like any other stop motion project, which is, most of my time and energy is being thrown into this, and so you're going to get a really good final product. It's just going to take a while. So the fact that I started working on the Dark Island trilogy adaptation is really the reason you guys did not get more Ninjago content this year from me. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. It's like you get fewer videos of Ninjago stuff from me this year, but some of the videos you're going to get from me next year are going to be really, really good. So it's a little bit of trade-off. You guys have to wait longer, but the stuff you're going to get is going to be way better. So yeah, I filmed all of that in like September and October of this year. So all the filming's done. I don't know. I may go through and do some pickup shots. I may add some extra like fight scenes here and there, but principal photography is done on that. And right now I'm getting voice lines in. So I don't, at this point, I may have the first part ready to go by January, but I'm not 100% on that. It may have to be February, March, April when those videos come out, but I'm going to try my dang hardest to have a trailer out for you guys by January the 14th, which is the 10-year anniversary of Ninjago. So hopefully I'm going to try my hardest to actually have a trailer out for you guys on the 10th anniversary at the very least. Because I would really like for part 1 to be out by in January, but specifically the 14th, because like I said, it's the 10-year anniversary. But I like there to be a little bit of a gap between when a trailer goes up and when the actual thing comes out, so that way there's time for more people to see it, and stuff like that. So if part 1 of the Dark Island trilogy does launch in January, then it's going to end up being late January, like the 30th or the 31st or something like that. I haven't started editing it yet because, like I said, I'm still waiting on voice lines to come in. But I will try very, very hard to get a trailer out for you guys in January, so that way you can have a better idea of when it is going to come. And so, just to appease you a little bit, here's some kind of some of the assets that I'm going to be working with in terms of the special effects, and also test footage that I did when I first was like, okay, so how because Ninja, doing a Ninjago stop motion is different from any other stop motion I've done, because there's a lot of ranged weaponry in that, like Lego Star Wars, like, yeah, there's lightsabers and stuff, but I focus on the clones, stormtroopers, stuff like that, the people that don't typically have the Force, so they're using ranged weapons, they're using blasters and stuff like that. So that is a totally different type of combat compared to the stuff that the ninja do, which is all melee weapons. So the ninja are having to jump around and hit stuff. Wu's hitting people with his stick. So that test footage was, kind of, it's like, okay, how is this going to work? How am I going to do this? What about spin jitsu? What's that going to look like? So it was really a fun challenge to figure out how all this stuff is going to look, and I think it's going to look pretty great. Some of the sets I built, both digitally and physical, those were fun to work on. And overall, I think this is just going to be a really great looking in terms of both the style and also the quality of the animation. I think it's going to be really, really awesome. So yeah, that's kind of your preview at stuff for 2021. I've talked about Transformers already. That there will be the rest of the season will follow in 2021. So that's a lot of stop motion stuff that you to look forward to me next year. And also, just to as I'm wrapping up here, another video for you Ninjago people that I did not make was about the passing of Kirby Morrow. I could have made a video on that, but I honestly. I got a comment about this as well. Someone asking me, did you know that Kirby Morrow died? And for those of you that are unaware that follow my channel for non-Ninjago stuff, Kirby Morrow was the voice actor for Cole in Ninjago. He sadly passed away earlier this year at like the age of 49 or something. He was way too young. Very tragic. This is the reason right here. This is the reason I didn't make a video. One of the two reasons I did not make a video on. It's like I just don't know. I mean, it's what else can you say except it's tragic. I wish it didn't happen. I can't believe it happened. It still doesn't. It's been like a month and a half now, and I still can't believe that it happened. It's so unfortunately sad. And I didn't want to make a video on it just because. I didn't want to jump on a relevancy bandwagon just for the views, because that would have been very. It would have been. I feel like it would have been disrespectful concerning what happened. I was honestly the day of I found out I was very mixed. I was very mixed on what to do, because I immediately thought I can't make a video on this. It would be disrespectful, but at the same time. Well, people would probably expect me to make a video on this, so so if I don't make a video on it, then that could be seen as disrespectful. So I didn't really know what to do at first. I ended up deciding on not making a video on it, just because it's like, well, if it's going to be like one of my typical Ninjago videos where I script it out, it's like, what is there to script out? It's sad. I wish it didn't happen. May he rest in peace. His legacy will be felt for a long time on the show. Especially since we, of course, now know that he did record at least one season's worth of 2021 Ninjago stuff, maybe both seasons, I don't know. So, I mean, it's awful. I can't believe it happened. And it's... and so I don't really know what else to say about it, so that's why I didn't make a video on it. And so, again, that's another video you guys didn't get from me worth Ninjago content, but as I said... it's gonna be quality over quantity next year, and that's kind of the direction I've always wanted my Ninjago videos to move in, because this is not necessarily meant to be disrespectful to these other people, but because from what I've seen of them online, they're great figures in the community. They really care about the line and everything, and they do a great job talking about it. But people like what's his name, Tanner Fishies, I think that's the guy. I've scrolled through his channel, and I'm just like, how can he? All the range of videos that he has. It's like all the different things he talks about. It's like I've kind of feel like if I tried to do this, I would run out of stuff to talk about very quickly, because I wouldn't, not that I wouldn't necessarily care, but I'm not sure how my opinion would really differ as opposed to anyone else's on a certain issue. So that's kind of why that's why I haven't, done like a weekly Ninjago video. It's like, all right, now we're, because if I tried to do that, it would go downhill so fast. It would be, after like 4 or 5 weeks, it'd be like, all right, ranking the ninjas' faces. Number 10, we have Cole's face. His eyebrows are too bushy. It'd be stupid stuff like that. My heart would not be in it. I wouldn't care. So if talking about stuff like that, I would need to be talking about it in a broader sense of a broader topic, like an entire video dissecting and looking at the difference of the show before and after the movie came out and the design changes there and why. But even then, I don't really necessarily want to do that, because that's a topic that's been talked about to death. So that was just an example, and even I don't even want to talk about it as an example, because people have talked about it to death. It's like, the original designs were better, blah 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 blah. And it's like, no, the newer designs, it's like, whenever they change the designs, the show is ruined, stuff like that. So that's why I don't, like constantly pump out Ninjago content, because the stuff that I do want to talk about, I want it to be unique. And I know people have done top 10 ranking the seasons. Let's rank the best episodes, blah, blah, blah. That stuff is a little more common, but the thing about that, though, is that, my ranking is going to be different from someone else's ranking, so my opinions will be different. I don't actually know. It's been strange looking at some of some of the people talking about online. It's like me putting Rebooted last is not necessarily controversial, but it's not necessarily common either. There's a lot of people that put like Hands of Time last or something like that, which is my second to last, but because a lot of people, they'd get wrapped up in that final scene with Zane from the Titanium Ninja. They get really wrapped up in that, and then that just kind of washes away all the sins of the rest of the season, or they don't necessarily notice all the faults with that season. I guess their nostalgia goggles are working too hard or something like that. I don't know. So yeah. That's if any of you were wondering, that's why I don't constantly put out Ninjago content, because I want it to be quality over quantity, and I think the Dark Island trilogy adaptation is going to be a perfect example of that, where I'd rather release, and I know for a fact I will definitely do more than just the 3 Ninjago videos next year, because I'll do the stop motion adaptation, and then I'll probably do a video talking about season 14 when that wraps up, and season 15 as well. I might end up combining those like I did with season 12 and 13. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I might do some Ninjago set reviews depending on what I may or may not get, stuff like that. There might be other things that happen in the community that needs to be talked about. Like, I don't know, let's say I get into a feud with someone, and it's like I feel like I'm not the type of person to get in a feud with anyone. It would have to be like someone insulting my family or something like that for me to get into a feud. But just as a hypothetical, let's say I get into a feud with someone, then that'll get me to make a, it'd have to be stuff like that, but if something unforeseen like that. But yeah, I will definitely make more than just the 3 Ninjago videos next year. I mean, heck, I might get some of the cats together and we might record either 3 separate or one big, like commentary tracks on the Dark Island trilogy. I'd have to see who would be available and who'd be willing to do that. But because oh my gosh, the cast I've got for the Dark Island trilogy is phenomenal. If you are a part of the wider Ninjago community, you may already know some of the people that are on board. I'm not going to necessarily be talking about the cast right now, because this is not the video for that. But it's not necessarily a secret either. If you know, you know. But I can't wait for you guys to be hearing some of their stuff, because I've been listening to a little bit of it already as the lines have been coming in. Whoo, boy, there's a lot of good stuff in there. So Dark Island trilogy, it's definitely going to be fun. I think you guys are really, really going to like it, and it'll be a great way to get that story out to a wider audience. And also, it's also kind of ironic now, because we know season 14 is going to be called The Island. And so around the time that the season 14, The Island, is going to be coming out, I'm going to be putting out my Dark Island trilogy adaptation. So that's a little funny. That's a little funny how timing works there. So, and I'm also really looking forward to seeing that 10th anniversary documentary that some fans are working on. That's gonna be fun. That's gonna be interesting. So yeah, I think that's it. 2020 overall, it was a good year for me, but for the world, it was awful. So here's hoping 2021 is going to be better. Thank you guys for watching. If you've watched this all the way through, thank you for doing that. I know that this is, a longer video with like mostly just the one static image of the title, with a couple exceptions, because it's just easier for me to edit that way. And these aren't necessarily meant to be, these are not the type of videos that I put together to be known for my editing skills. This is, that's the stop motion stuff. That's the video game stuff. This is me. Just let's have a little chat. Let's just have a little conversation. A one-sided chat. So yeah. So if you, like I said, if you have watched this far, thank you. If you skipped to the time code for the Ninjago stuff, well, hey, that's fine. I hope I may have answered any questions you had about some of my Ninjago stuff. And I hope you will stick around in the new year and hopefully branch out and watch some of my other stuff, because I do a lot on this channel. And I'm really proud of myself for doing a lot on this channel. Between that I do, I am one person, and I do, for the most part, consistently upload two different videos a week, and then I have these stop motion series come in for a couple weeks, and movie events and stuff like that. I'm really proud that I am one person. I am able to pull that off all on my own, with the exception of voice actors. But I'm doing the heavy lifting, is what I mean. So yeah, thank you guys for a great 2020 for my channel, and I will see you guys next year. So, excuse me. So stay safe out there, everyone, and let's ring in the new year in a positive way. So I'll see you guys next year. Thanks for watching. Bye.